Well, the keynote for Enlit 2023 here in Paris has just finished, and honestly, it was standing room only. We've had a great session, and of course, to moderate it, as every year, Sasha Twining has taken part, and Sasha's with me now. Sasha, well, what were the differences you found between this year and last year, the messages?
What a great question. But just to say, though, yes, standing room only, it was packed. Different messages. Do you know, I don't think there were necessarily different messages, but certainly what you felt was that sort of renewed sense of urgency, not that it had ever gone away. But I think, Marianne Laigneau from Enedis was actually said it spot on, that the focus now has to be on delivery. If I could sort of paraphrase her, what she was saying was, we know where we need to go. We know what we need to do. We've got the tools. Let's now focus on delivery. So I'm not sure there were different key messages, but I think there was that sort of oomph, if I can put it that way. There was definitely the idea that let's get behind this and go.
Absolutely. And I guess that impetus was added to because this year we had a young energy professional, Csinszka Bene, and I thought she had some powerful messages that woke up the audience. Well, what was your impression?
I think that's absolutely right. And I think it was great to give her that opportunity to have a keynote. So she followed two really significant energy leaders, and then she came on stage. And naturally, as you would expect, her message was different, and she talked a lot about climate anxiety and the generational divide, which I think, it's a really powerful point to touch on, because we know what her we all feel the same about climate change. Let's not beat around the bush on that one, but we know that her generation is the generation that will be inheriting whatever it is that we do now. And I think she made that point really well. But she used that phrase, climate anxiety, just to show what it's like growing up when you're not quite in control yet of what's happening, making the decisions and setting the regulations and the policy directions, but you are seeing everything change around you. And I think she really sort of, got through to the audience there.
And wasn't it fascinating when you asked all of the panelists, and apart from Csinszka, they represent major organisations, whether they're doing enough for climate change? None of them said they were.
No, that was really interesting. And to be honest, I didn't expect any of them to, because politically you can't sit there on stage and, metaphorically sort of, dust off your hands, fold your arms and go, yeah, we're doing enough. They were never going to say that. But I think it was interesting, the points that they then picked out. And if I could mention Greg Jackson from Octopus, and he is, his company is very, very clear on what they want to do to help customers. He was talking about the recent energy drives that they have to try and get customers on side to do particular targeted hours to reduce their need. So that's just one of the things that he's doing with Octopus. But I think, to answer your question, none of them said they were doing enough. They all say they need to do more. But I think we sort of, we need to find out what that more is. What are the next steps?
Yeah, they seem to accept the challenge.
Yeah.
We've got to talk about grids, because we had a lot of grid representatives there, and the message seemed to be that this energy transition really needs to be enhanced by focusing on the grids. Were there any messages that came out there that struck you?
Yeah, I think that's been really interesting, and it was summed up by all the panelists that previously we'd had sort of the focus on the shift to renewables and what the industry was doing and what the mix might be, or the regulations. But actually the focus now seems to be on the grids, because of course it has to be, because if we're going to have a flexible system where we have prosumers as well as consumers, so people who are producing their own energy, it has to be this large, flexible grid that can adapt, and with the use of new technology, AI, ML, it has to sort of be the grid for the future. So I think, we had Eleanor, who was from Iberdrola, who was saying that actually a grid has to be flexible, and it can be a big sort of societal change as well, sort of a way of helping people with their own energy supply, and it has to be designed like that. Actually, if I can just make another point, it has to be designed, something else that Greg Jackson was saying, that actually we shouldn't be talking about transition. We should be talking almost like a cut and change. So, when it comes to the grid, it's not quite starting again, but it's looking at a total shift in the way that energy companies do things. He was mentioning the internet. He was like, that wasn't a transition. That was like, right, new technology, change.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I think it was a fascinating hour in the panel discussion, and as we move forward, take this event to Milan next year, the challenge that was put out there was, what are you going to be doing in the next year? Think about that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, what is the next stage? What is the next step? And I think at one stage, every single panelist was talking about the lack of time and, what's in their diary, what's coming up, and actually just how little time there is. So 12 months is a very long time. It's going to be interesting to see what has happened by then.
Absolutely. Policy and regulation and industry working together in collaboration, and that's very much the message of Enlit. It's
and
why
getting the real skills in there as well, getting the people with the skills that they all need, and goodness me, and getting the young leaders on board, bringing everyone together.
It was an exciting session. I'm looking forward to the rest of the time here in Enlit. Thanks, Sasha. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Well, stay tuned to the Enlit community for more insights like these, and don't forget to subscribe to our channels.